Obviously, with Microsoft launching their biggest game in probably years in Starfield, they're going to talk about the next console. Phil Spencer actually was breaking down some information about the next console and their competition with the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro, and things like that. Obviously, they took a route with the last generation, which made a lot of sense. And I've mentioned this several times before that I felt like it was a very interesting time last generation because the prevalence of 4K TVs made it much cheaper for the average person to buy. If you look at things like 8K TVs or whatever, they're still very, very expensive, like the price of a car. So I don't think that that's going to be something that most people adopt, especially since only 50% of the people right now, or a little bit more, have 4K TVs. A lot of people are still buying like 1080p TVs and things like that. To be honest with you, I don't want to see my favorite TV shows or movies in 8K and see everybody's wrinkles and all that stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm crazy. But when it comes to Phil Spencer talking about the next console, I found this to be very interesting because he kind of reiterates what we've heard before. And when they came out with the Xbox One X, I thought, like I said, that was a really great console. That might go down as one of the, if not the most underrated console of all time because it was doing incredible things. The problem was they didn't really have a console that could go out there and compete in terms of exclusive content. I thought that was a major issue for them. So when you see that, you kind of look at this and you go, okay, well, I understand a little bit where they're coming from. So this was very interesting that Phil Spencer was talking about this. He kind of breaks his silence on the new console to compete with the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, Xbox, clearly the Series X and the Series S is Microsoft consoles, and they compete against PlayStation. They've been, rivals for a very long time now, multiple generations. Both of them released new consoles almost at the same time, and both consoles have exclusive games that can only be played on their respective consoles. Just like the consoles themselves, the fandom has always had a heated argument regarding which console was better. It seems like a never-ending question, with the rumor of a PlayStation 5 Pro coming soon, in fact coming next year. People think that Xbox might head down the same path, but during an interview very recently, Xbox head Phil Spencer recently cleared everyone's doubt about Xbox's alternative to the PlayStation 4 Pro. Phil Spencer made it clear during the interview that there is no upcoming Xbox console. PlayStation 5 Pro will not face any competition from Xbox whatsoever. Hardware refreshing costs money, and the process is not good for both players and developers, according to Phil Spencer. A PC is very different from a console. A PC can be upgraded anytime, but a console is otherwise. Due to the simple mechanics of the console route, it's better to let it stay that way. So, again, it's very interesting to me that they're taking a different step. I never thought that the upgraded console generation, last generation, PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, did particularly well. In fact, outside of like the Twitterverse or whatever, and like the hardcore gamers, I never knew anybody in person who actually owned a PlayStation 4 Pro or an Xbox One X. Like, yeah, I own an Xbox One X and a PS4 Pro. My brother owned an Xbox One X. People I podcasted with who did Xbox stuff all owned an Xbox One X. But, nobody owned a Xbox One X like that I just knew, like that I was friends with or that I worked with or anything like that. And nobody owned a PS4 Pro that I know either. So it was kind of weird to me that this is going to keep happening because there is no, middle of the road upgrade where people are suddenly flocking to like a 4K TV or anything like that, or an 8K TV. There's no instance of that happening. And what's very interesting is, at least the way I look at it as someone who owns a PlayStation 5, I own a PlayStation 5, and I think that, it's kind of a little bit of a weird thing because they haven't really taken advantage of it yet. So they're saying, hey, by the time we do take advantage of it, you're going to need to get this other PlayStation 5 because it's one of those things where if you want to keep going with this, or this, then you're going to need to get this other thing. Like for me personally, I am, of the mind that I think that this is just one of those things that matters where obviously you're starting to see sort of people talk about like frame rate and stuff like that. But the thing is like I'm playing Starfield right now, and I'm playing it on my Xbox Series X, and it looks beautiful, it plays beautiful. I'm not noticing any issues with the frame rate or anything like that. I'm sticking with what I have, and I'm not going to spend another $500-$600 on a console every 3 years, every 4 years, because these things are obviously, developers are going to always use what's available to them. So when it comes to something like Bethesda and Starfield, they really went all out with the with the graphics and things like that. And so frame rate obviously was going to kind of suffer a little bit. So anyway, everyone that thought that with the Xbox 360 coming to a stop, it would be time for another console, but it was all for naught. As Phil Spencer said that the Xbox 360 store was closed due to a very low number of active players on the console. Moreover, the console is more than 15 years old. The main motive for launching the PlayStation 5 Pro is to give gamers a better experience. But according to Xbox head Phil Spencer, the gaming community is well satisfied with the Xbox Series X and S. If anyone wants to look for something cheaper, they can opt for the Xbox Series S, of course. Xbox Series S will give proper gaming experiences to people with a tight budget. This is the entry-level gaming experience for new gamers. Phil Spencer also added that many people wait for the console prices to drop before committing to one, but the process can no longer be followed. It is not possible for Xbox to drastically drop Series X prices from $500 to $200 like back in the day. So, like back in the day, like for example, I know a lot of you probably have been gaming for quite a while. But back in the day, like say Xbox 360 or a PS2 or whatever, when those things would launch and they'd be like, or the PS3 even, that's a really good example. That thing launched at $599. By the end of the generation, I think it was down to $199. You're not seeing that anymore. According to Phil, he says the RAM, graphics card, processors are used to make the consoles are not cheap. The new generation consoles need new equipment. The same component cannot be used multiple times. That's why Microsoft has launched the Xbox Series S at $299 instead of $500. Xbox Series, obviously, Xbox and Microsoft want their consoles to be different from a PC. So for the moment, Xbox fans will not have their I don't know if there's so much a wish to have a mid-gen refresh, but there's obviously, I'm not going to say that nobody's asking for this. Clearly, there is some people, again, the people in like the Twitter sphere and all that kind of stuff are obviously doing that. But and again, I get the argument because like I said, I used to podcast with Mooch for a long time. I know exactly what he'd say. Oh, well, you trade in your current one and you get $300 off from GameStop, and then so you really out of pocket, it's not that much, etc., etc. And I get that, but for me, it's just like seems like a huge hassle in general, and sort of defeats the purpose of why we have consoles in the first place. Especially since, like I said, we haven't really had anything, particularly on the PlayStation 5. I mean, Starfield is the first, in my opinion, giant. Well, Hi-Fi Rush was really good too, and that was current gen only as well. But we haven't really had that like amazing game that really kind of pushes everything. I guess Starfield is that now, but on the PlayStation side, we haven't really seen anything like that. So, it seems odd to me that they're saying, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and come out with this new version of the console because, we need something that can do this, this, and this. And I always found that to be a little bit suspect for a number of reasons. But, everybody else might feel a different way. I'm not going to fault you if you really want a mid-gen refresh. I mean, if you're the type of person that wants, a new piece of hardware every 3 years, maybe like a PC would be better rated for you, right? Like for me, I've always been a console guy. Will never ever in a million years game on a PC. Just not my thing. And I can't I want to make sure that I see people kind of a certain way with this stuff when it comes to Xbox. And I love Xbox for what it is and what it's always been. I don't want to have them turn into like phones where it has to update every couple years, because I feel like developers will never ever give us our money's worth if that's the case. And what I mean by that is they're still learning the ins and outs. Like when I look at Starfield, like there's Starfield Xbox Series S footage out there, and I feel like with that footage we're seeing what a developer that takes their time and knows what they're doing is, and that's almost 3 years in. So I can imagine what we'll see in the future, but it should be some pretty cool stuff on the Xbox. And I feel like when it comes to Xbox Series X, only 3 years in are we getting Series X and current gen stuff only. So I feel like we are I want to see what they can do with the Series X and S in mind all along. None of that cross-gen nonsense, and it looks like we're going to be coming close to that sooner rather than later, which is an exciting prospect as well. So let me know what you guys think. I really do appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Thanks for watching. I am Crab Gamer. This is Crab Gamer Reviews. I hope you guys all have a great day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crab Gamer 'em up. If you watch the content, leave a like, subscribe. Crab Gamer out.